Hello, and welcome back to the bonus story from White Album 2, The Ordeals of Princess Setsuna. So what this is it's actually kind of a prequel story. It talks a lot about Setsuna and her insecurities when dealing with other people and other students. And it also talks about her job at the grocery store and how she was so deeply, deeply terrified of people finding out who she really was. Even though it's really she's just a normal girl. She has so much trauma left over from middle school and being left behind. She'd rather be idealized by the student body than be ditched like she was back then. Anyway, what ended up happening is now there's a rumor going around that she is dating people for money, which is terrible and completely untrue. Let's continue on. One day in autumn, a month before the school festival and the Miss Hojo contest, Setsuna, surrounded by friends who were worried about her, experienced a feeling of deep isolation. Whew. As her sigh echoed around the bathroom, Setsuna submerged her just-washed body in the bathtub and ran her mind back over the tedious time she had just spent. The weekend night, the party, the karaoke that she had so long awaited. She hadn't put in a single request or even sung backup. Just smiled and played the tambourine the whole time, and the regret she felt over wasting her time like that slowly soaked into her heart together with the warmth of the water. Aww. She finally said yes to going out with her friends just to try to quell the rumors, and look what... You shouldn't have to be forced into ditching your part-time job. Then again, she should honestly, if she does consider them friends, she should be able to tell them about the part-time job as well. So I'm not letting her completely off the hook for that. A week had passed since the uproar over that inflammatory message. To Setsuna, those days had felt like she was standing on a mat of needles, or rather, brush bristles, painful and itchy. Naturally, the one behind the message still hadn't been found. And, for this week alone, she hadn't even been followed on Wednesday or Friday. One could say that there was no longer any need. After all, the offender's duty had been taken over completely by Setsuna's best friends. That's tough. Ever since that message, every member of Setsuna's friend group, beginning with Kanako, had started aggressively inviting Setsuna to go places, focusing on Wednesdays and Fridays. That's mean. That's just plain old mean. Those are not her friends if that's what they're doing. And if Setsuna tried to turn down these invitations, they insisted upon prying into her reasons. Why? Come on, you gotta go out with us sometimes. You don't have anything else going on, right? Quit being so reserved. If you act like this, they're just going to take more and more advantage of it. Unable to turn down their reasonable but pushy goodwill. That's not goodwill. This is not goodwill. Setsuna was forced to take 2 days off from work and go along with the other girls. Yes, as of today, she had skipped work twice in a row. But this apparently hadn't been enough to dispel the suspicions of the aforementioned gossip, and the email was still making the rounds. On top of that, every time somebody new received it, her friends went out of their way to tell her so. For all she knew, this favor of theirs might well continue even after the school festival and Miss Hojo contest were over. If this situation did continue, then the day might be near when Setsuna had to quit her job altogether. Really, that might be the most respectable conclusion for Setsuna. This is dumb, and I try really, really hard to scale back my criticisms and remember these are high schoolers, high school brains, not fully developed, but at the same time, really, you're so scared to tell people about your part-time job that now you're thinking about quitting your part-time job. Like, this is so dumb. For what? For who? These people are not even important to her. Her pocket money would decrease. She would have to abandon her efforts to keep her school idol status solid Her gold covering would peel off a little at a time. Fewer boys would pine over her. Some of her friends might distance themselves or stop giving her special treatment. But before long, she would cease to care about anybody else and eventually return to the way she had been before that incident in middle school. That would be great. Like, she says these things like it's a negative, but everything this just said would be amazing. People see her as a normal person, boys would stop idealizing her, and she could make real friends. I wonder whether the shop is doing okay. Still, at this point, Setsuna couldn't see that kind of detour as anything pleasant. The lack of money and the drop in her superficial value were of little consequence to her. She just didn't want her world to be restricted to that cramped classroom. Kashiwada-san did say that her kids have the flu right now. I hope they're all right. After missing only 2 days, the faces of Setsuna's middle-aged, part-time colleagues at work floated in and out of her head. Yes, what hurt the most to Setsuna now was the loss of that social interaction at her workplace, the loss of that sense of fulfillment. The fact was, being called Sit-chan and doted upon and teased by the ladies at work had become a very comfortable daily routine for Setsuna. See, that's because they actually treat her who she is. They don't idolize her. They don't put her on a pedestal. She's just Setsuna. They had their own moments of tactlessness, just like her classmates, but thanks to the calmness and experience that came with adulthood, they had never caused Setsuna any pain or bitterness. More than anything, they treated her like a daughter, rather than an idol. To Setsuna, who found it natural to put family before all else, this was something that felt very nice. I have to go next week. No, I want to go. Once the school week started, preparations for the festival would begin in earnest. This week was also the deadline for entry into the Miss Hojo contest, which meant that this coming Monday was a day of decision for Setsuna. Would she choose the world within the school or the world without? Would she choose to be Miss Hojo, or would she choose to be independent, with nobody to interfere with her? Would she choose her friends from class or her friends from work? This was a choice between one and the other. One must be cast away. There was no other option. She couldn't think of a way to continue keeping both sides alive. Not as the fundamentally good person that she was. This is so, if she was suddenly like, oh yeah, I have a part-time job on Wednesdays and Fridays, all of her friends aren't suddenly going to cast her away. All of these people aren't suddenly going to think of her as less. She just overthinks this so much. Huh? And at the start of the week, after school, in the student council room that had become the temporary office of the School Festival Action Committee, the words of the committee chair, whom she had only just met, left Setsuna tongue-tied. Well, if you object, Ogiso-san, we can pretend this conversation never happened, but I'd really like you to consider it constructively, if you would. The petite chairman, with silver-rimmed glasses and swept-back hair, speaking extremely politely in spite of his status as an upperclassman, bowed his head deeply before Setsuna. You want me to be on the poster for the festival? Not only that, I'd like you to work in full cooperation with the Action Committee as our school festival campaign girl. Full cooperation? Yes, for example, between now and the day of the festival, making advertising broadcasts during lunch, collecting data from each club and class for publicity videos. Then, on the day of, serving as the award presenter for all of the various ceremonies. With the exception of the Miss Hojo High Award, of course. That'd be so funny, can you imagine? The winner of the Miss Hojo High contest is me! Setsuna had actually come here with a completely different purpose in mind. This morning, after deciding that she would withdraw from the Miss Hojo contest, she finally shook off her depression, slipped out of bed, and came to school. big decisions there. It might create a breeding ground for further trouble for her class, especially those who called themselves her best friends, but she had had enough of attention that she never asked for. So she marched up to the action committee with every intention of declaring this herself. For the next little while, 2 days a week should be fine, so could I ask for your cooperation? Monday and Thursday would be ideal for us, but if there are other days you'd prefer, that's perfectly all right. Wait a minute, please. What do you mean? What do I mean? Exactly what I just said. However, the third-year committee chair showed her in, saying, I had a feeling you'd be coming, and it was clear that this was going to prove difficult. Ogisa-san, you are well known not only within the school, but in the college as well, and the whole region. I simply must have your help in order to make this year's school festival a success. But right now, What? There are some strange rumors about me floating around the school right now. Is that okay? She swallowed her real excuse. I was actually trying to turn down the Miss Hojo contest to begin with. She was trying, but yeah, it's a good point. You don't want to hire someone that's super controversial to be your poster girl either. The flow of the conversation was already hurtling down the complete opposite direction of what she had anticipated. In a sense, the committee chairman had led her perfectly by the nose and trapped her. That chain letter, you mean? So you know about it too, Chairman. Well, is it true? Of course it isn't, right? Then as far as we're concerned, there's no problem. Huh? That's all you needed to hear, right? Then if you have no further objections... It really seemed like this committee chairman standing before her had seen through absolutely everything. I mean, that's a committee chairman for you, really knowing what's going on within the student body. But if I do that, then weird rumors will start cropping up about the school festival itself. I don't think they will. How can you be so sure? He had all but predicted Setsuna's reaction and had already gone ahead to establish her escape route. That was how it felt. If you'll promise to offer your full cooperation to the Action Committee, then we in the Action Committee will back you up fully, and we will make that announcement as soon as tomorrow. Yes? First, we will post a large-scale notice to our homepage that you have taken on the role of School Festival Campaign Girl. What exactly does that... On our blog, we will reveal that this plan has been in the works for over a month. Wait, what? Wait? We will disclose everything. That we and Ogisa-san have been meeting twice a week for detailed briefing sessions lasting until nightfall, and that you have been cooperating with us behind the scenes in order to build up the festival. We'll say something like, we're sorry to have kept this from you all for so long, but... Then you mean... Having heard all of this... this definitely should be this. Setsuna now understood perfectly what the Action Committee was trying to do. In other words, this was about thwarting that email. This is so smart. This is so big brain. This is why he's committee chairman, clearly. By coming up with an excuse that goes backwards and covers her trail from over a month ago, that's amazing. This is a very good idea. Using a lie with evidence to shut down a fact without evidence. Ogiso-san, this is a serious problem for us as well. The committee chairman gave a small, slightly wry grin. Given a kind look like this after having such a bomb dropped, Setsuna found herself less and less able to read the face of the person standing in front of her. If you were to withdraw your entry into the Miss Hojo High contest, to be perfectly frank, the damage to this year's festival, which has been prepared with that contest as a pillar of the whole event, would be unfathomable. In other words, our interests in this matter correspond with one another perfectly. But telling such a public lie? If it turned out that you were doing anything like what that email indicated, we ourselves would never work with you. We're endorsing you because we have faith that you aren't lying. But I'm not the one about to lie here. No, never mind. That's really sweet that someone believes in her and actually believes in her. That's like more genuine than her so-called best friends. It seemed that there would be no merit in pushing this any further. In fact, it would be completely meaningless and serve only to tire her out. So Setsuna made the decision to drop her attack on his word choice. She didn't get the sense that she'd be able to beat this upperclassman in an argument. Why do you trust me this much in the first place? Well, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's fear. Huh? When she posed this question, the committee chair's wry smile changed for the barest moment into something truly unpleasant. If the ones above believe you, then the ones below will have to believe you too. So, Chairman, since you stand above, I'm asking why you believe me. Whoever said that the committee chair is the highest? Oh? No, nothing. What a weirdly strange thing to say. And this line that followed, connected with the refined logic that he had used up to this point, seemed more like a grumble. Well, anyway, how about it? Will you consider it? Chairman, it wasn't even a matter for thought. All of Setsuna's reasons for hesitating to accept the conditions had been eliminated. The schedule that deliberately avoided Wednesdays and Fridays, this collaboration that would make it seem as though she were with the action committee every day. Indeed, the cover-up that stretched back in time, even to before these suspicions broke out. The accusations would be fully, publicly refuted, and the Hojo High School Festival would be completely unified in support of Setsuna. It was perfect. Almost too perfect, in fact, and she couldn't entirely sweep away some misgivings, as though she might be falling into a nasty double-layered scheme. That would be awful, although that would be very White Album 2-esque to put in something like that. But starting the next day, Setsuna Ogiso became the face of this year's Hojo High School Festival. Setsuna's smiling face was plastered absolutely everywhere in the school. Well, that pretty much cinches her win, if you think about it. Every day at lunch, Setsuna's voice rang through the school like a bell. Setsuna's video reports adorned the top of the school festival homepage every week. The content of that email, the sender, the atmosphere of investigation had all been blown away. When the festival started, the Miss Hojo High contest received its highest number of votes ever, a smashing success. But there was one thing that nobody had realized about the outcome, since before the voting even started. Set-chan, when you're done with that, come to the register, please. Alrighty. As she worked on applying the discount stickers as usual, Setsuna could tell from the queue forming at the register that they had reached the busiest part of the evening. Soon, it would be hot pot season, and nappa cabbages, daikon, and all sorts of other vegetables meant to warm one up from the heart peeked out of the storefront and customers' baskets. I love hot pot season. Late fall when everything starts getting really, really cold. It's such a nice, healthy meal to have. It's like a soup, and you just throw a bunch of stuff into it. It's so good. 1 month after the school festival ended. As it turned out, Setsuna had kept on with her job at the grocery store ever since. There were no longer any suspicious underclassmen following her, and it seemed that her perfect disguise, bespectacled and braided, would hold up for a little while yet. All done. After she finished placing the stickers, Setsuna looked briskly up at the winter sky. The sun was setting earlier, and in the long-since-darkened night sky, a full moon was beginning to rise with abandon. Even in this cold, there were many people coming and going through this station front. Married couples stopping by to pick up ingredients for dinner, Men on the way home from work slightly early, elderly people ambling around with no clear objective or regard for the hour. So this particular few sentences were actually in the introduction to this side story, if you remember. This is something that Maruto-san, Fumiaki Maruto, the writer, likes to do to show that things are the same. Like a lot of other things has changed and character growth has happened and so on, but some things are ever the same, and this is kind of showing the same thing. And just a few Hojo High School students. I'm taking the register. Nonchalantly escaping the stares fixed on her from the male students outside the store, Setsuna returned to her task inside, brimming with vigor. Oden or hot pot? She pictured the menu for that night's dinner in her head. I'm glad I was able to keep working here. What are you doing, standing around here? What do you mean, what am I doing? You were taking forever to get back from the music store. Hey, look, a really nice secondhand one just came in, and I couldn't help myself. Lost track of time. Takeya, you already have 3 guitars. Don't tell me you're gonna buy another one. What are you talking about? This is for you, Haruki. Real easy to use model, perfect for a beginner. Think about it, will ya? You seriously think I'll be able to play something like that? You'll be popular, dude. The girls will come running. You'll be the hero of the school festival, I'm telling you. Why would I play it at the school festival? Well, I guess that'd be a pretty busy time for you. They do call you the secret action chairman, committee chairman and all. Oh, hell no. No way am I going to be the chairman next year. And that brings us to the end. So the questionable way that committee chairman had acted, saying like, oh, what makes you think I'm the highest? And then they're calling him secret action chairman, committee chairman. Kind of a hint that Haruki was the one who had believed in Setsuna back then. So really nice little side story there, which gives us some insight into how they were the year before all of this mess, I guess you could say, the mess of the introductory chapter happened. So, thanks so much for joining me on this bonus story from White Album 2, and I'll be back to you with more bonus stories and content in the future. So until then, hope you take care. See you!